Well, they're just different. They're much more pressure style, more zone pressure defense. Um, where Southern Utah was, they blitz maybe 3-4 times a game. So in that regard, they like to heat it up a little bit more. And like Coach Kramer said, they're more of a pro style defense in terms of zone pressure. Um, you know, and they will play some open secondary stuff as well, but for the most part, they like to mix the coverages, give you a lot of different looks, change the front a lot, and whereas Southern Utah played pretty much 2 or 3 looks the whole game.
How do you counter that? How do you try to keep them off balance?
I think you just got to work on your execution. Don't pay attention to exactly what they're doing, but focus on your execution and what you're trying to get accomplished. You got to be able to recognize coverage in terms of what they're going to be in and anticipate, and then be able to execute from there.
So the 14 picks and they've taken those, but they've only given up 11 passing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't been great against the run, at least statistically. Is that because of the offense that they play, or just teams had more success running the ball, and why is that?
Well, they've had 4 or 5 picks against the conference, so in 3 or 4 conference games. So we look at it as just we want to try to stay as balanced as we can in terms of giving him run, pass looks, that type of stuff. So we're not so as much focused on them as we are on us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really the bottom line. We want to be 1-0 at the end of Saturday, and we look at it as another faceless opponent. What do they play? Okay, great. This is what they're going to be in. Okay, how do we perform against that? So we don't like to look at, the statistically, because you can spin stats however you want to. I mean, if you got one, I'll get you another one to counter that. And so we don't try to get into that so much as the matchups that we're going to have and that type of stuff. They play Coach Kerr has done a very good job of them being sound on defense. They play very good team defense together, and I think they feed off of that. If they're going to if they make some plays, they're going to get on you, and then that will affect the way that you execute. And they've made some big plays in some critical situations in the game. So I think those are more things that we focus on as opposed to the overall statistics in terms of the takeaways. But they play very physical, and they play very sound in terms of the scheme they play, and they've done a good job with that in the first 7 games.
John, at this point in the season, are you still adding stuff to the offensive playbook, or are you simply trying to refine what you have?
We'll do both. We add and then delete, and it's as you add, you want to make things bigger, and then you want to delete it down to, to what you got to be good at. So we're always continuing to look for little nuances in our offense, but primarily we are who we are, and we want to be good at what we do. We don't want to be a master of, we want to be the master of our offense and not of everything in terms of that. But to be able to be balanced with our run game and pass game, I think that gives defenses a lot to deal with every week.
Sure.
Coach Kramer said Arias didn't play his best game. What did he not do? What was the downturn? Where was it at?
A couple times we could have got the ball out a little sooner. We want to continue to do that. As we see more complicated looks from people, we want to be able to. You got to be able to get the ball out sooner. That affects the pass rush as much as anything, especially when you're trying to go fast. In terms of that, they're trying to get a pass rush. So, being able to recognize coverage and be able to spit the ball out before the pressure gets there is very important in terms of if you throw 50 times a game. So you don't want to hold the ball, certainly, especially if they're starting to get any pressure on you. But he's still playing at a high level. I mean, it's we're being nitpicky with him, but because he's been in the program for 4 years, and we grade him hard as we did the first day he got here, but he's playing at a very high level. It takes more to fool him coverage-wise. Now that he's seen so many different looks, so, but there's always something to improve. We're never satisfied with today's performance, right? So we always think of, there's always something that we want guys to do better.
Speaking of that, how would you grade last week's play by the O-line, and where do they need to improve this week?
We didn't play as well as the previous week, but we still played pretty solid. Obviously, giving up 3 sacks was not very good. Our goal is to have no sacks. And we played a very good player in Cowser. He was a very good pass rusher, polished guy. But we as a unit, they played pretty decent. Not as good as the week before, but individually, we had a couple deals where a guy doesn't make a play here, a guy doesn't make a play there in a matchup or so, and that we have to eliminate. And most of that's technique. Most of that can be accomplished technique-wise. So, this is the time of year where now you have to really settle in on the technique you're playing and how we can get that. You got to see the big picture, but you got to go back to the small details and keep refining your game that way.
Could Northern Colorado bring more pressure in the box than Southern Utah did?
They will, because they're more committed to doing it. So they blitz, dramatically more than Southern Utah. So they're way more committed to trying to apply pressure with more bodies. So whether it's a 5 or 6 man pressure, they want to be able to do that a lot more times in a game than Southern Utah.
Have you seen anything exotic out of them, Don? By that I mean, like last couple of weeks, ISU has been running Tyson Manu or Cody Sorensen like a safety blitz from deep. Have you seen anything unusual from Northern Colorado when you say they blitz more?
No, it's just pretty standard in terms of zone pressures and man pressures. So not anything that we haven't seen that way, but they do it well, and they've done it from game 1 to game 7. So, there's not a big change between who they're playing and what scheme they're using. So I think that, like I said, they do a good job. Coach Kerr does a good job of getting those guys to play hard, and they're very disciplined in how they line up and how they get ready.